I'm Nicole Burley. It is Friday, August 27th. This is Rush Hour, and right now, a pair of crises unfolding, one in the Middle East, one in the Caribbean. Hurricane Ida rapidly gaining strength and aiming for the Gulf Coast. But let's start with the danger in Afghanistan. The U.S. forging ahead with evacuations in Kabul. A day after suicide bombings killed more than 100 people, including 13 U.S. service members, making it the deadliest day for American troops in Afghanistan in over a decade. And despite the deadly terror attack, Afghans once again tried to get into the airport in hopes of securing a seat on a flight out of Kabul. But Taliban checkpoints turned many of them away before they could reach the entrance. Armed militants used Humvees to block off the main road to the airport. Now, the area is essentially locked down, with armed guards patrolling where yesterday's explosions occurred. You can see bloody clothes and luggage still littering that area. The Pentagon says more than 5,000 people are inside the airport waiting for evacuation ahead of Monday's August 31st deadline. And the death toll from the attack is rising, now up to 169 Afghans killed, along with those 13 U.S. service members. Relatives of those killed in the blast gathered outside a Kabul hospital to confirm the identities of their loved ones and prepare funeral arrangements. More than 200 injuries also reported. Now, all day long, we've learned details about some of the 13 U.S. service members killed in the attack. We're going to be live with their stories in just a moment. And as the frantic evacuation efforts continue, the White House bracing for the potential of yet another terror attack, saying these final days, quote, will be the most dangerous period to date. NewsNation Washington, D.C. correspondent Alexandra Limon is live in D.C. Alexandra, tell us about the threat U.S. troops are now facing in Kabul.
Well, Nicole, President Biden's national security team has informed the president that another attack is likely in Kabul and, quote, maximum force protection measures are in place at the airport. The White House says 105,000 people have been evacuated through the Kabul airport, but thousands are still struggling to get out. The UN says as many as 500,000 people may attempt to flee in the coming months. But right now, the clock is ticking ahead as the August 31st deadline looms. Some European allies and other nations are wrapping up their airlifts today in an effort to give the U.S. time to get 5,000 troops out by Tuesday. Republicans and some Democrats are calling the operation a disaster. Today, the White House responded to that criticism.
Clearly something went wrong here in the process that we saw the ISIS-K attack occur yesterday. It is easy to throw stones or be a critic from the outside. It is harder to be in their arena and make difficult decisions. And the decisions that a commander-in-chief has to make include among difficult options.
The White House says the U.S. is focused on getting out every American who wants to leave ahead of that deadline. And President Biden has directed the military to find the terrorists responsible for killing U.S. troops. Press Secretary Jen Psaki saying, quote, he does not want them to live on the earth anymore. Nicole?
All right, Alexandra, thank you so much. Well, as evacuations wind down, we're also learning more details about the attack in Kabul and how it's impacting the airlift operation. The Pentagon also updating reporters on the number of evacuees earlier today. So let's get to Kelly Meyer, who was at those briefings in Washington. Kelly, what did the Pentagon have to say?
Nicole, the Pentagon is on heightened alert as they move this mission into the weekend, but they say they are still on track to bring troops home by Tuesday.
In the final days of the drawdown, the risk to U.S. troops and evacuees on the ground is growing.
We still believe there are credible threats. In fact, I'd say specific credible threats.
The Pentagon says Thursday's deadly explosion could be just the first attempt to disrupt evacuation efforts.
We certainly are prepared and would expect future attempts, absolutely. But I won't get into the specifics of what those are.
The Pentagon now says there was only one explosion outside the airport's Abbey Gate, with no second explosion at a nearby hotel. Major General Hank Taylor says the attack did impact evacuation efforts.
A little lessening of what we would say total capacity at people in and around gates.
The Pentagon says more than 12,000 people were evacuated in the last 24 hours. I asked Pentagon spokesman John Kirby about the ongoing safety of those evacuees and U.S. troops.
Should Americans expect more U.S. casualties in the next few days?
We obviously don't want to see any more casualties. That's why we are monitoring the threat streams very closely.
President Joe Biden was warned Friday the next few days of the mission will be the most dangerous. But Kirby says the Defense Department remains focused on completing that mission.
It is time to end America's involvement on the ground and in the war in Afghanistan, and we're going to execute that.
And Kirby also told me that the Secretary of Defense said they are keeping the safety of U.S. troops as a top priority. Nicole?
Absolutely. All right, Kelly, thank you. 11 Marines, 1 Navy sailor, and 1 Army soldier killed in those attacks, and their names are slowly starting to emerge. News Nation correspondent Nancy Liu joining us live from Camp Pendleton in California. And Nancy, communities already are building memorials to those fallen.
You're right, Nicole, and the U.S. Marines have not yet publicly released the identities of the fallen, but at least one Camp Pendleton family and others across the country are talking about their devastating losses and profound grief. Tonight, flags are lowered at the Ohio State House and buildings across the land. The Buckeye State is honoring Navy Corpsman Max Soviak of Berlin Heights, a 2017 grad of Edison High School. The 22-year-old was among the 13 service members killed near the Abbey Gate in Afghanistan.
He was looking out for others and just worried and concerned about others far more than himself.
In a statement, his family said, "We are incredibly proud of his service to our country. As we mourn the loss of our son, we also mourn for the loss of the Marines and soldier who were killed and pray for the speedy recovery of all of those wounded in Afghanistan. Words cannot express how heartbroken we are with this news, and we will miss Max tremendously." Also among the fallen, 22-year-old Corporal Hunter Lopez of Southern California. His parents are both with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Missouri is mourning 20-year-old Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz of Wentzville. His father told a St. Louis radio station the family got the tragic word early this morning and that Schmitz had been sent to Afghanistan just 2 weeks ago.
My heart just goes out to the families.
A display of flowers, candles, and balloons to honor the lives lost continues to grow outside Camp Pendleton. At least one of the 11 Marines killed was reportedly based here. The Marines say a full list will be released 24 hours after all families have been notified. Those who work to ensure the fallen are never forgotten say it's an excruciating time for countless military families.
They don't know if they're the ones that are going to get the knock on the door. It's tragic and it's heartbreaking.
And additional casualties coming in, information in addition to Schmitz, Soviak, and Lopez. We are hearing about Riley McCullen of Bondurant, Wyoming, whose wife is expecting their baby in just 3 weeks. Also, 20-year-old Marine David Lee Espinoza of Laredo, Texas, and 23-year-old Marine Staff Sergeant Ryan Knaus of Knoxville, Tennessee. And tragically, we will be hearing about at least 6 more fallen heroes in the hours and days to come. Nicole?
Our hearts certainly go out to their families. All right, Nancy, thank you. 24 students and their families from San Diego stranded in Afghanistan after visiting their extended family for summer vacation. A parent of one of those students contacted the school to let them know their child would not be there for the first day of school. And that's when the district realized there were several families stranded in Afghanistan. News Nation's Claire Benitez from our San Diego station KSWB joining us now. So, Claire, are they going to be able to evacuate?
Yeah, well, thankfully, only one family has just to be left to be contacted to safely get out of Afghanistan, out of those 8. Now, that's according to the district. Now, we did speak to the district earlier today. Now, they did tell us that they are trying to get out safely, but those other 7 are safe and secure and possibly even here. Now, one family, including 5 students, made it back home earlier this week. 2 families are on a plane right now on their way back to the United States, and 4 families are secure and safe, waiting to be processed and brought back home. Now, this all started with the family contacting the school's liaison, letting them know their children were not going to be able to make it to the first day of school. The liaison then found out there was a total of 24 students, a total of 8 families stranded in Afghanistan. The Cajon Valley Union School District then contacted Congressman Darrell Issa, now the office which represents the 50th district in California. The congressman immediately took action. Issa has been in contact with the Pentagon and the State Department to be able to bring back those students and their families. So, you know, obviously there was an explosion yesterday, and I was able to ask the district if anybody was hurt, and thankfully they said nobody was hurt in that explosion. Again, those families, some secure. There is just one more left that they just need to get that communication so that they're safely out of Afghanistan.
Well, and Claire, you know, we hear about multiple families. It seems unusual, but these types of trips pretty common in this school district.
Yeah, very common. 10% of their students say that Arabic is their home language. This district here serves about 17,000 students, so 10%. That is a lot of those students. And here in El Cajon, this region in San Diego has a lot of refugees from many parts of the world, but a lot from Afghanistan as well. Nicole?
Clara, thank you for that. Well, now we want to bring you the story of an Afghan student studying here in America, desperate to help his family escape Afghanistan. NewsNation's Adrian Robbins from our Columbus station WCMH is live at Ohio State University tonight. So, Adrian, you talked to him today.
Nicole, that's right. And here at Ohio State, most students are focusing on their new class schedule, moving in, or even some homework. But this student that I spoke with is focused on Afghanistan and getting his family and friends out of a chaotic situation. Khalid Dada is a junior here at Ohio State, and he says he has been working around the clock to helping his family, but also people he's never met before. He says time is of the essence with that August 31st deadline for U.S. troops to withdraw coming up quickly. Instead of focusing on schoolwork, he's been helping people fill out and get proper paperwork so that they're able to evacuate. He says after yesterday's attack, people are growing more and more desperate to leave.
We are just in a situation where anyone will do anything to get out. People do not have trust in these people who are in power now, and they're desperately trying to flee.
Khalid says that the concern is after that August 31st deadline, it can become very difficult to get people who want to leave out. He says he won't be sleeping much until that deadline has passed. Nicole?
Yeah, I'm sure he will not. All right, Adrian, thank you. Well, all those planes that are leaving Afghanistan have to go somewhere. And in the U.S., that somewhere is Dulles International Airport just outside of D.C. NewsNation correspondent Evan Lambert live inside the airport. Evan, there's now a backup of planes on the tarmac.
Nicole, right now, Dulles International is the only airport where these flights are arriving. The refugees coming through one of these gates really just right behind me after a health screening. We have learned from officials that Philadelphia International Airport should be used as early as this weekend. But all this is creating that backlog for these families once they arrive here on the ground in the U.S. And we have just learned in the last 2 weeks, 14,000 refugees and American citizens leaving Afghanistan have flown here into Virginia's Dulles Airport. That according to the governor here. And as they make their way here, in some cases, friends and even family are waiting for them too. We spoke with a veteran here. He is waiting for his Afghan interpreter. He helped get him out of the country. He says that the interpreter and his family have been here since 6 this morning, now waiting more than 12 hours to be processed. And this is just adding hours and anxiety to that already long trip. You also are going to see some video from one of those packed planes with passengers in the last few days sitting on the tarmac for hours. All this at the end of this treacherous journey to leave their home country.
Shot me a WhatsApp note saying he was on the ground, and I was about 30 minutes out. So we've been waiting here for, my watch is dead, but about 9 hours or so. We'll wait till he gets here.
But the biggest part of his journey is over. He's here in the U.S. and safe.
Yeah, no, and that's this is the best part of the story, right?
And the Pentagon press secretary did address these backlogs earlier today, saying that the waits should get shorter and that this should clear up sometime soon. But as you see, some of these families, some of these refugees still waiting for hours and hours to be processed. Hopefully it will be sped up with the addition of another airport accepting these flights. Nicole?
Well, it's good that they're able to get here. And Evan, we know that there's a massive effort to get those refugees a COVID vaccination once they arrive.
Yes, Nicole. So officials say that there is a mass vaccination site that's at the Dulles Expo Center. We were just there a few days ago, and that is where, according to officials, they've been offering the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to these refugees. Back to you.
All right, Evan, thank you. Well, it has been more than 50 years since Robert Kennedy's assassination during a speech at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. His assassin, Sirhan Sirhan, was immediately arrested and charged, later convicted, originally sentenced to death, but that was later commuted to life in prison. And breaking tonight, now 53 years and 16 parole hearings later, Sirhan Sirhan may soon be a free man. NewsNation correspondent Tom Negovin joining us live tonight from New York. So, Tom, this decision really just came down within about the last hour.
That's exactly right. The decision, Nicole, by a two-person panel has set Sirhan Sirhan free, in large part because of lack of opposition from the L.A. County District Attorney, keeping his word and sticking to his policy that prosecutors should have no role in deciding whether prisoners get out. He served 53 years for the murder of the New York senator and brother of JFK.
On to Chicago and let's win there.
Robert Kennedy was a Democratic presidential candidate when he was shot at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles minutes after delivering a victory speech in the pivotal California primary. He was just 42. In the past, Sirhan, now 77, has stuck to his account that he doesn't remember the killing, even though he remembers prior events very well, like going to a shooting range that day. Today, his lawyer says he's been an exemplary prisoner and poses no danger. There was no opposition from L.A. County DA George Gascon, who believes his office has no business in this process. An advisor saying in a statement that the role of a prosecutor and their access to information ends at sentencing.
You've got to remember, this is the Kennedys.
Brian Buckmeyer is a trial attorney and co-host of the nationally syndicated Law and Crime Daily.
Without that opposition, both in the family or the district attorneys, the strength of the parolees' arguments become that much stronger. And so if you're thinking about this from an adversarial standpoint, there's no other side to fight Sirhan Sirhan, really, in getting released.
And the decision of parole, Sirhan Sirhan, made by a two-person panel in California in just the past hour. That decision still has to be approved by the full parole board, Nicole, and by California's governor. That could take up to 90 days.
All right. Yep. So it's not definite. All right. Tom, thank you. Still ahead tonight on Rush Hour, Ida churning toward Louisiana, the entire Gulf Coast preparing for a potential hurricane strength impact. The strong system drenching Cuba today as a Category 1 hurricane when Ida could impact the U.S. Hurricane Ida made landfall in Cuba today as a Category 1 storm with 75-mile-per-hour winds. The National Hurricane Center warned of potential life-threatening storm surge on the island. Ida expected to inch toward the Gulf Coast before possibly impacting Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, or Alabama as soon as this weekend. NewsNation's Gerard Jabali live tonight in the Weather Center. Gerard, we've just learned that the Cardinals-Saints game in New Orleans tomorrow has been canceled because of Ida, and this system really just formed so quickly, developed into a hurricane. It seems like even faster.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we were looking at this and it was just turning into a tropical storm. It quickly ramped up into a hurricane. So this system is unfortunately getting much, much stronger very quickly. Here's the way it looks right now. It's just now moving across Cuba. Category 1 hurricane, winds of around 80 miles an hour sustained. So we have more gusts to go. And while it's moving across the island, we may not see it really intensify for just a short time. But once it makes it into the Gulf of Mexico, that's when we'll start to see things change. Here's the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center, moving across Cuba and into an extremely favorable environment. The Gulf of Mexico, very warm with low wind shear, and the current projection is that this is going to actually strengthen into a Category 4 major hurricane, winds sustained of 140 miles per hour. So this is definitely the real deal for Louisiana. Let's go into the warnings now. We have hurricane warnings in effect from Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, all these coastal regions and interior. And as you notice, we have surrounding that tropical storm watches and warnings going on. We've got a lot of different things that we're going to see. The wind, of course, is going to be a major factor, with winds in excess of 100 miles per hour, likely stretching more than 50 miles wide. Tropical storm force winds will also be a big factor, stretching over 150 miles wide. And then we have, of course, storm surge, 7 to 10 feet easily. We could see areas over 15 feet of storm surge. And on top of that, we have something that's going to stretch way inland, and that is going to be torrential, life-threatening flooding with rainfall amounts between 10 to 15 inches, a likelihood in parts of Louisiana. That rain is going to stretch possibly as far north into places like Washington, D.C. Could still see 7 inches of potentially flooding rainfall. We've got a lot that we are going to be monitoring with this system.
Yeah, now projected as a Category 4. Wow. Well, right now, people are preparing for Ida to make landfall. It's expected to hit this weekend. Hospitals in Louisiana working to stay up and running safely. And NewsNation's Danielle Johnson from our station KLFY is outside one of those hospitals right now. So, Danielle, what are healthcare workers trying to avoid?
Well, Nicole, right now I'm outside of Our Lady of Lourdes Medical Regional Center in Lafayette. And, you know, everyone in Louisiana just wants to avoid Hurricane Ida right now. But that's something we don't have control over. But when you ask how are healthcare workers and hospitals handling this situation, hurricane season is no surprise to anyone out here in Louisiana. But when you're in the middle of a global pandemic, that just adds fuel to the fire. You know, they are following their regular post-storm or, storm preparation plans as they normally would any other hurricane season. But right now, hospital officials tell me their main concern are these COVID patients and patients that are already in the hospitals. In the last several weeks, we've seen Louisiana reach their highest numbers in COVID positive cases, and right here in Lafayette alone, our Governor John Bel Edwards, he is confirming that Lafayette has the highest hospitalizations for COVID right here in the region. I mean, it's crazy. So right now, that's what hospital officials are trying to combat at this moment. They are telling me they have backup generators for their backup generators. They are also all hands on deck. They do not plan to transfer patients to outside to other facilities because, as I said earlier, beds are full. These hospitals are full to capacity. So they're making sure that their employees, their staff, their patients are well taken care of. And they're just going to try to weather the storm. And if it gets to the point to where they have to transfer patients, they will do that. But at this point, they are staying inside of the facility, staying safe. And they also tell me that, like I said, they're not planning to move out anywhere else. And that's just the plan. You know, out here in Lafayette, Louisiana, everyone is planning to weather the storm. Excuse me. Nicole, back to you.
All right, Danielle. Yeah, it looks okay there now, but obviously we want you and everyone there to stay safe. Thank you, Danielle. Still ahead tonight on Rush Hour, a Florida judge rules Governor Ron DeSantis cannot ban school districts from requiring masks. How the governor is firing back tonight. And we are monitoring all the latest breaking developments out of Afghanistan, including the final evacuation efforts. Welcome back to Rush Hour. Here's what's happening in your nation right now. President Biden's national security advisors warning of the potential of another terror attack in Kabul in the final days of the U.S. troop withdrawal. Maximum force protection measures are now being taken as the U.S. military ramps up its evacuation efforts a day after a suicide bomber killed over 100 people, including 13 U.S. service members. And some of those service members have been identified. Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz, Navy Hospital Corpsman Max Soviak, Marine Corps Corporal Hunter Lopez, Marine Riley McCullen, Marine David Lee Espinoza, Staff Sergeant Ryan Noss, and just in, Marine Lance Corporal Kareem Maylee Grant McCoy. We'll continue to update you with any new identities as we learn them. California firefighters battling the Calder fire, dealing with gusty winds and dry conditions. This is time-lapse video of the Lake Tahoe area showing, look at that, the wildfire's impact. It's already scorched nearly 144,000 acres. Right now, it's only 12% contained. Texas Republicans have advanced new voting restrictions after months of protests by Democrats. The bill passed largely along party lines and comes 1 week after Democrats ended a 38-day walkout, many leaving the state to try to stop it from passing. That bill now goes to the Republican-led Senate. Now let's turn to the pandemic, and the U.S. intelligence community still divided on the exact origins of COVID-19. That's according to a new report commissioned by President Biden more than 90 days ago. An unclassified summary shows 4 intelligence agencies believe the virus was transmitted from an animal, but a 5th agency believes the first case was linked to a lab leak. Meanwhile, COVID hospitalizations in the U.S. have surpassed 100,000, the highest level in 8 months. And Arizona, now the 13th state in the country to reach 1 million total COVID cases since the start of the pandemic. And in Florida, a judge ruled today that Governor Ron DeSantis cannot ban school districts from enforcing mask mandates. NewsNation correspondent Brian Enton live in Miami tonight. So, Brian, how is the governor responding?
Well, Nicole, this was interesting because you had this group of parents from throughout Florida who basically teamed up together. They decided they were going to take on the governor. They sued him, and today they won. The judge deciding that local school districts in Florida can enforce mask mandates. Obviously, Governor Ron DeSantis not happy about any of this. This entire trial that basically happened between these parents and the governor was all through Zoom because of the pandemic. It took about 3 days and it wrapped up today. The judge ultimately deciding that Governor DeSantis did overstep his authority when he signed an executive order saying that mask mandates were not allowed. I spoke to one of the parents who went up against the governor. I talked to her just after the ruling came down this afternoon.
So what was your initial reaction to the ruling?
Relief. That was my initial reaction, because if he ruled against what we were saying, then I would just say science is BS. You know, science and medicine are BS. It was such a relief.
And the Governor DeSantis says this judge ruled against parents' rights. He says that this is far from over, and he plans to appeal this decision. Nicole?
Oh, yeah, I imagine it is far from over. All right, Brian, thank you. Well, in a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court struck down the federal moratorium on evictions, meaning millions of people struggling to pay rent may soon be kicked out of their homes. NewsNation correspondent Paul Gerke joining us live tonight from New York City. So, Paul, why did the justices rule this way?
Nicole, the court is arguing that it's a case of overreach by the CDC. Simply put, a stop on evictions is something that has to be legislated, and legislated by Congress. On the other side of the token, the Centers for Disease Control has argued that the COVID Delta variant is simply too dangerous to force evictions, and therefore may be forcing people into crowded homeless situations. But the bottom line is that if Congress doesn't act, people will end up on the street.
I slept in my car with my animals the first night.
Corrine Cortino of Las Vegas is one of the roughly 3.5 million Americans wondering how she's going to pay her rent. The Supreme Court's decision means landlords can begin eviction processes in many parts of the country, an idea that doesn't sit well with the Biden administration.
Our objective is to keep as many people around the country in their homes as possible. Federal legislation is one way to do that.
Another is the $46.5 billion rental aid program set up by the government to help those affected by the pandemic. But only about 10% of that money has been distributed so far. Corrine lost her business and has had to rely on a GoFundMe to try to pay back more than $8,000 in past due rent.
This pandemic has destroyed my life. This wasn't supposed to happen.
And yet we're hearing stories just like hers coming from all over the globe, Nicole. It's important to think about this in another context, too. Although many of us can't relate to what it's like to own rental properties and collect money from other people, you have to think about the landlords. This is a two-sided issue. The group of landlords that brought this to the Supreme Court's docket, they're hurting, too. Their revenue stream dried up the same way that many of us has when we lost our jobs during the pandemic. Nicole?
All right, so Paul, does this mean that those evictions start right away? I mean, are notices going out right now as we speak?
That's a really important question, and it depends entirely on where you live. For example, in California, the eviction moratorium extends until the end of September. In Illinois, for example, police can't make you leave your home until the 18th of September at the earliest. Here in New York, the eviction moratorium has been extended until the end of this month. It may very well be extended again, just like it might be in the other 4 states with moratoriums you see on your screen. We'll have to see. It depends on what you do with all those people if there is a mass homelessness event, Nicole.
All right, we'll see what happens. Thank you, Paul Gerke, a new correspondent. Welcome to News Nation. Well, still ahead, the Federal Reserve preparing to dial back some of those economic boosts due to the pandemic, when those low interest rates could come to an end, and how it will impact you. Plus, investigators say they have a suspected terrorist in custody, all because of a 911 call the suspect made, but police found inside his home when they showed up. With the U.S. on increased alert, a potential terrorist stopped in his tracks in Nevada, all because of a 911 call he made. Now, there's some surveillance video of the terror suspect firing shots at an alleged burglar, but when police arrived to help, they found tributes to the late al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. NewsNation's David Charnes from our Las Vegas station KLAS has the disturbing details of what investigators found inside his home.
On the wall in this garage was a photo of Osama bin Laden. And remember that police would never have been called to this home had the suspect himself not fired a gun and then called 911. We do want to warn you, this story does contain gunshots. Investigators say those gunshots early in the morning last September led them to discover something else inside this Northwest Valley garage. Police say the man in this video holding the gun is 27-year-old Lacey Walther. He had reported an attempted car burglary here on Cobble Creek Court. He confronted the thief and called 911.
We're going to go ahead and send someone over to talk to you. Make sure the gun is put away now, okay?
Do they need to see it? Should I give it to them?
No, just for now, just keep it put away. But we'll send someone over to contact you. They're already in the area looking around, okay?
All right.
Evidence obtained and shown to a grand jury reveal investigators went inside the home looking for that gun. But inside, they found much more. A stash of explosives and other items they say could be used for terror. A painting of Osama bin Laden on the wall with one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter written in Arabic. Investigators also found a 3D printer to make guns, components to build IEDs, which an investigator noted looked like what foreign terror groups make to target our military overseas. Counterterrorism detectives finding a notebook they say included recipes to make bombs and other homemade devices. One page talks about government unrest and chemicals for the eyes. Other pages include how to make a letter bomb and a list of poisonous plants. Now, we asked the jail if the suspect wanted to talk to us, hear his side of the story. He agreed, but only if we paid him $5,000, which is something that we don't do. Along the Las Vegas Strip, I'm David Charnes. Nicole?
All right, David, thank you. Still ahead, a major change coming to your iPhone. Apple making a significant shakeup to the App Store. What it means for the future of downloading apps. And history on the dance floor. What's happening on the upcoming season of Dancing with the Stars that's never happened before. In tonight's Money Nation, the Federal Reserve will soon start dialing back those low interest rate policies, and changes could be coming to Apple's App Store. Corey Johnson, CEO of the Business Podcast Network, is back. He's going to explain it all. So, Corey, those interest rates have been very low because of the pandemic. When could they start going back up, and what does that mean for the average American?
So I don't think it means a lot for the average American. It does mean a lot if you trade bonds. It means a lot if you're very active in the stock market, because it means that the Federal Reserve will no longer be in there buying, tens, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of bonds, treasury bonds, mortgage-backed securities every month. And it also means that the interest rates, yes, could turn around a little bit, but they are not likely to turn around a lot anytime soon. And so if you're a business owner, you're not likely to make a decision about whether you're going to buy a factory, build a factory, or buy a business or something based on a minor change, a 1%, a 2% change in interest rates. If you're a consumer, you're probably not likely to charge more or less in your credit card if the rates in your adjustable credit card go up 1 or 2%. Mortgage affordability, maybe that changes a little bit of the margin, but it does signal that the Fed thinks the economy is healthy enough to stand on its own, and maybe even so healthy that inflation is an increasing risk.
Well, we definitely like a healthy economy. I guess, yeah, people are thinking about buying a house. Maybe they want to do that sooner rather than later. All right, Apple making some major changes to its App Store. It's all part of a proposed settlement with developers. Now, we've talked about that on News Nation. So what changes can we expect when we download those apps?
So probably not a lot. In this settlement, Apple has said, God is in the details, and so is Apple. The details of this settlement show how limited it actually is. The headlines sound fantastic, right? That you can start to pay for your app in a different way, that you could start to, the app makers can contact you directly and say, pay with your credit card instead of Apple Pay, and Apple will take less than their 30% cut if you start to do that. But when you get into the details, they're creating, for example, a $100 million account for app makers to apply for rebates from. Well, Apple makes about $230 million every day. So a $100 million settlement, maybe not that much for these guys. I think it's a way for Apple to kind of get out of the crosshairs of the app makers, because it comes down to it, Apple still takes a lot of money for every app that's purchased. And this will also let some other app makers contact their users for in-app purchases. But right now, it's not clear if Apple's going to let give up that money that they are counting on so much for their future.
Yeah, they make a lot of money. Corey, we love that you always break everything down for us. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's time to talk entertainment and history in the making for reality TV. The first time two women will dance together as a same-sex duo on the upcoming season of Dancing with the Stars. So let's bring in News Nation entertainment correspondent Sloan Glass. So Sloan, this is some big news for season 30.
Very exciting. The remaining contestants will be named in September, along with JoJo's dance pro, who is still a mystery. The show also announced that Olympic gymnast Suni Lee will compete this season.
Siwa's star power cannot be understated. She has over 60 million followers across her social media pages, over 3 billion views on YouTube, and Siwa was named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. Siwa shared her enthusiasm with a video on Twitter.
I can't wait to just dance every single week. I can't wait to meet my partner. Oh my gosh, there's so many things I'm so excited for.
Siwa shared that show executives left the decision of pairing in her hands, and the teenager, who identifies as gay and queer, knew immediately she wanted to make it okay for the people who come after me.
I don't really care about what they say.
But the idea is not a new one in the Dancing with the Stars franchise. As the United States version approaches season 30, they join a long list of other countries who have been featuring same-sex dancing couples on the show for over a decade.
I am so excited to be a part of this year's Dancing with the Stars season 30.
But everything the teenager does, she does big. Her signature bows have generated sales of $400 million, according to Forbes. And that's their conservative estimate.
She's already a pro dancer, but including her audience, I think JoJo has really good odds to win this season. I'll be voting for her.
All right, Sloan, thank you. Yeah, 400 million in bows? I got to figure that out. Yeah. I got to do something. All right. Sloan, thank you. The Donlin Report starts at the top of the hour. Joe is down in the studio with a preview.
Hi, Nicole. Tonight on the Donlin Report, mixed messaging in Afghanistan, getting all Americans out, yet tracking down ISIS-K after 13 service members were killed. As the deadline looms in Afghanistan, new threats stand in the way. We'll address all of that. And it's time to pay up, what the Supreme Court's new ruling means if you're behind on your rent, and why millions could soon be on the streets as a result. We'll see with that more at the top of the hour. Nicole, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Still ahead, top stories making headlines around your nation, including An investigation underway after two brothers admit to burying family members in their yard. Why they are not facing charges. We continue tonight live from our News Nation headquarters in Chicago with a look at what's going on in your nation now. Louisiana's governor has declared a state of emergency ahead of Hurricane Ida. Preparations underway, people bringing in sandbags, boarding up homes and businesses. The storm expected to hit New Orleans as a Category 4 hurricane Sunday, which also marks 16 years since Hurricane Katrina devastated the region. The mayor of New Orleans says there's no time to issue a mandatory evacuation, but to leave as soon as possible. A Nashville-based helicopter pilot and his fiancée helped rescue 17 people trapped due to intense flooding in the area. To perform those rescues, Joel Boyers had to maneuver around power lines, hover over floodwaters. Some of those rescued from their roof with only the clothing on their backs. Last weekend's flooding in Tennessee killed 20 people, shattered the state record for one-day rainfall. And an update on the shooting outside an Illinois courthouse we told you about yesterday. One of two men killed had just left a hearing on child sex abuse and pornography charges. The man who pulled the trigger was then fatally shot by the brother of the man he had just killed. Police say the shooting was the result of an internal conflict among members of the same gang. Schools in that area were on lockdown for hours. Investigators bringing in heavy digging equipment to look for two bodies in the backyard of a Chicago area home. Authorities believe the two brothers who lived there buried their dead loved ones in the yard because they couldn't afford a proper burial. Right now, those men are not facing charges because the bodies have yet to be located. And social media platform TikTok appears to be banning the milk crate challenge, deleting search results for the recent viral sensation where people climb milk crates stacked in a pyramid. Numerous videos show the wreckage, though, when people fall. And multiple doctors are speaking out against the challenge. Yeah, look at that. Due to the risk of very severe injury. Just don't do it. All right, as always, we want to leave you with a smile. Tonight's comes via Switzerland, and it's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's a cow. Actually, about 10 cows being transported via helicopter down a Swiss mountain. Farmers had them flown down because they're injured, but the rest of the herd will be heading down on hoof throughout the weekend. And that is all for Rush Hour tonight. You can follow me on social media. Just search Nicole Burley on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can check headlines anytime at newsnationnow.com. Also, download our free News Nation Now app. The Donlin Report is next. And please have a great weekend.